Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside View with Teddy Panos. I am your host, Teddy Panos, and I'm bidding you good morning because I'm recording this podcast in the morning, but who knows when you're watching it. It could be midday, it could be evening, it could be late, it could be overnight. You're an insomniac, you can't sleep, so you're watching us or you're listening to us on our podcast services. Does not matter, because as we like to say here at Inside Lowell, we provide news, information, and sometimes entertainment on your schedule, not ours. So I'm glad you're joining us whenever it is you are joining us. Have a special guest today, Lowell City Councilor Wayne Jenness. We'll be chatting with him in just a quick moment. First, as we always do, want to thank our sponsors for helping make the Inside Lowell podcasts and all of Inside Lowell possible. My friends at Washington Savings Bank, because it's morning, I've got coffee in the mug this morning. I got that for opening an account. I opened a second account just the other day at Washington Savings Bank, and it was so easy. I didn't even have to go in there. A couple of emails, quick conversation with the folks at the downtown branch here in Lowell. Boom, new account open, debit card, you name it, online access, remote access, you name it, I had it. It's that easy, it's that simple, and their service is that personalized for the customer. Washington Savings Bank, go to washingtonsavings.com to learn more. Thank you as well to our friends at Reverie 73, a local cannabis dispensary. Cannabis is a new industry still here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and people are always asking me questions as if I'm the expert, but there's a lot of confusion out there. That's where the folks at Reverie 73 come in. Their staff is knowledgeable, articulate, and they're willing to go the extra mile to answer any questions you might have. And the store itself stands out. The moment you walk in, it's bright, it's beautiful, it's a true experience. Check it out, 1148 Bridge Street in Lowell, or order online at reverie73.com. And last but certainly not least, our friends at Hafner's. You know, I had the family in here doing a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about Louise, one of the pioneers of Hafner's. And yesterday they put out a post on, it was International Women's Day yesterday, and they put out a post about her. It's an amazing story. You can read about it on their website, hafners.com. You can learn more about it by checking out that podcast on Inside Lowell with Hafners. But it's an amazing company with an amazing story and a family that's dedicated to Greater Lowell and the Merrimack Valley. And also, they take the worry out of heating your home in the winter. And we still got some cold days coming. It was pretty cold last night, as a matter of fact. Call 866-IT-KICKS to learn more about all their services, 866-IT-KICKS, or visit hafners.com. You can learn more that way as well. And with that, I am welcoming in my special guest this morning, Lowell City Councilor Wayne Jenness. Good morning to you, Councilor.
Good morning, Teddy. Good morning, Inside Lowell audience. How's everyone?
I'm doing okay. I don't know, audience, you wanna speak up? That's the one drawback. Yeah, we don't have a way for them to talk to us, but we're gonna work on that. But this is your first appearance. Glad to have you here. Lots going on, but I want to start by addressing my most recent podcast before you sat in that chair. Your colleague Corey Robinson sat in here. We had a long, lengthy discussion about the DEI situation in Lowell and the hiring of the manager of the position there that's been unfilled for, oh God, gone close to a year now. And there was a statement in there by your colleague, Councilor Robinson, that I asked him, said it sounds like that's a little dig at one of your colleagues, and specifically you were the maker of the motion that was kind of referenced. I want to give you a chance to respond to that and talk about the motion from the other night's city council meeting.
Sure. Thank you, Teddy. So first of all, I'd just like to say I have nothing but respect for all 10 of my colleagues, including Councilor Robinson. I think everyone in that room is doing the best thing they can for the city in the best way they know how to, and everybody's fighting to make the city better, and I appreciate that. And I'm not going to sit here and criticize how any of my other councilors approach their job. Everybody's got their own style. Everybody does their motions, does their constituent service, everything in their own way. For me, I've been looking for an answer for a while from the manager as to what his plan was with this position. I'm not pushing him to rush it through. I'm not pushing him to, do it right away, to not do it or anything. I just curious what his plan is and what his thoughts are. And it's something that I've asked multiple times. And I've had conversations with him offline as well. It's something that many constituents have brought to me as a concern, asking what's going on with it. I've had city employees reach out to me and ask what's going on with it. And it had just gotten to the point where I was like, okay, I will ask again. And after the meeting, the manager and I did have a quick conversation about it. It wasn't public, so I'm not going to share what was said. But
come on, nobody's watching. You can tell us.
But I'll just say, stay tuned. There is some news coming. So how about that? So, and that's all that is. I'm happy to reach out and ask the questions that people want me to ask, and that was something that somebody wanted me to ask.
And that was one of the things I mentioned to Councilor Robinson. I said, being the fact that part of your district, and you do have the strangest district of them all, but downtown. From the residents I know, that I speak to on a regular basis, that is an important issue to them, DEI, and I would imagine that position then would be, by extension, would be important to them as well. You kind of confirmed that, yeah, you hear a lot about it from them, right?
Absolutely, and it's definitely something where each section of the city, each district, all of us, all 8 of us district councilors are going to hear different questions with different themes. To be honest, I don't get a whole lot of trash pickup questions. I know most of my colleagues do, but a lot of the folks who live in District 4 are living in large multi-unit buildings where we don't get city trash pickup. So that's not something that a lot of people worry about. I do hear about it from, some of my friends in Back Central and some of my friends in the little slice of Centerville and Pawtucketville that's part of my district, but not nearly the volume as my colleagues do. And this is something that is important to some of the folks down here. And, I think that the DEI position is important, and it's a piece of our overall DEI puzzle and strategy. It's not the be all end all. Hiring this DEI person, whatever they do, isn't going to fix every diversity, equity, and inclusion issue in the city. I know that. Everyone who's asking me these questions knows it. But having this person in place is a complementary piece to the trainings we're doing with Middlesex, which I think are great and are needed, and are going a long way towards really getting the entire city workforce up to speed with what DEI is and how it works. And I think that's great. But I do think that having someone in that DEI officer chief position to kind of take a step back and really look strategically across the organization is an important thing that's currently missing with the way we're doing things. And it's come up a few times recently in different discussions that have happened on the floor. Whether it was the motion I brought forward about the HRC Municipal Equality Index, where it turns out, the city was asked about it, got a survey in the mail, and it got put in the drawer and got lost during the city manager transition, and there was no response. If we'd had a DEI person in place, that's probably something that would have ended up on their desk and could have been tracked and maybe wouldn't have gotten lost. Or we talked about the Boston Planning and Development Agency and their DEI policies with contractors and everything else. The response came back from DPD that, hey, this is a great idea. We like it. We need an outside consultant in order to help us figure out how to put this into place. If we had a DEI officer on staff, that person would be, I would think, the go-to person on how you would do that. And sure, they may still need an outside consultant, but it gives you that point of contact. And that's why I think the DEI officer position is important. It ties everything together.
Long term, wouldn't it make sense to meld that into, because it's going to have some type of human resources responsibility? Wouldn't it make sense? And I don't want anybody out of a job or whatever, but at some point, whether it's a year, 2 years from now, doesn't it make sense to just kind of meld those positions?
It may. Honestly, I think that this position, where it is so new, and where honestly the administration itself is new, I think that there's an opportunity here to really kind of create that, kind of define what that role is. We've got a job description, we hire someone into it, but depending on who you hire, what their skills are, and how the organization overall is built and where the gaps are, I could see that shifting in that direction. I could also see it shifting to being something that's in the city manager's office and not the HR office. But it really depends on on how the administration uses that role and how the person in that role is best suited. So I think it's an open question, but I'm not against that idea.
You did sound satisfied at the beginning of this discussion with your discussion that you had offline with the manager and how he responded. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, absolutely.
How soon do you think it'll be before something more concrete is known?
I'm hoping within a month we'll have something on the table.
Okay. There's the speculation is up there, and I happen to, and I've been thinking about it myself. There's right now the council and others are going through some kind of a training in conjunction with Middlesex Community College, but there's a woman who works for the city, and I don't want to I don't want to butcher her name, but she's kind of spearheading the city side of that collaboration. It strikes me that at some point she's going to become the DEI officer.
I honestly have no info on that, so I can't share that with you. I'm not that close to it.
Wouldn't it make sense?
I mean, it could. I honestly don't know. It all depends on the skills and what you're looking for qualifications and everything else. So,
all right, let's switch gears. Let's talk about traffic concerns, because I perusing Facebook as I do to kind of get a sense of what people are talking about. I saw a recent one about speeding through the new Hamilton Canal District. People have learned it's a cut through. I notice it when I'm picking up my kids from school at the Hellenic Academy. People are now using the little Dutton Street, Canal Street area as a cut through, smartly so. But it's leading to some people speeding through the neighborhood.
Yep.
And you acknowledged that issue. What realistically can be done? How soon can it be done to try to curb this just basic human nature that makes us all drive like idiots when we feel like we're the only person on the road?
Right. And honestly, it's not just there, right? This is a problem that's really across the city, if not across the country. Everyone's dealing with this. I feel like the low point of traffic that we all experienced during the height of the pandemic made everyone feel like they were the only person on the road. And I feel like some of those behaviors have persisted, even though that now traffic is coming back. On my way over here, I was crossing Market Street and I hit the button to send the lights off, and the lights went red, and 2 cars went through after the light had turned red. It didn't even blink, and I'm like, it's everywhere. But that particular section of Canal Street is a problem, and it has been an issue since the bridge was open, because as soon as that bridge was open, it stopped being a sleepy dead-end street, and it's now a cut-through.
And there's a school there as well, which further extenuates the problem with kids constantly going across the street.
Yep. And, people are looking for ways to avoid the Central Street Bridge construction and the Lord Overpass construction. And guess what? This is the best way to do that. So that's kind of led to an increase in volume there as well. But in terms of actually what we can do and how to calm that down, I've had multiple discussions with the city manager. I've had motions on the floor. We've talked to the transportation engineer. The city has actually engaged with 201 Canal and their management, and which is WIN, and WIN has offered to do some help, to do what they can to help here. I did notice that there's a sign up on the Appleton Mills property now that wasn't there a week ago. It's a flashing LED sign that says slow curve. I'm like, okay, that's something. But I'm not a traffic engineer myself, so I don't know what traffic control devices we can use or can't use, but I've asked, can we do stop signs at either side of that 90 degrees? I think that might help. I don't know. Speed bumps or anything. And in terms of when it can happen, I know that the traffic engineer has been engaged on this and looking for solutions. So I'm hoping we'll have something soon. But like I said, this is a problem across the city, and it's, the traffic engineer's got a mountain of stuff to work out from underneath.
Yeah, and there have been discussions about some citywide measures, including, has it officially been enacted, the citywide 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on roads where it's not marked differently, or state roads that you have no control over? Is that now official policy?
Yes, so it's been passed by the council, and it's in effect, but the signs aren't up yet. So we're waiting on all the signs to get installed, which is something that's in process and really should happen in the next, say, 3 months or so, I would say. Hopefully sooner, but I'm giving a conservative time frame there. And then once those signs are up, I know that there's going to be an extensive communication and education program that the police department's going to do, that the manager's office is going to reach out to. I've asked them to reach out to some of the larger entities within the city, your UMass Lowell's, your LGH, et cetera, people who bring a lot of drivers into the city from outside, staff, students, whatever, just to kind of help get that message out of, hey, you got to slow down once you get into Lowell. So I think that when that comes online, it will hopefully help. I mean, 30 to 25 miles an hour isn't a drastic change, but hopefully it's just something that will make people realize they're in a densely populated space and to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, it really is an education thing more so than anything else. And then the jerks who are going to speed, they're going to speed anyway.
Right.
That's where you start to have to kind of use enforcement.
Yeah.
But I think a little education goes a long way in that regard, especially some near school zones or heavily populated streets where people are crossing constantly, like a downtown.
Yes, exactly. And I know that LPD has got a pile of tools in their chest here on how to educate people, how to alert people. They recently acquired 3 of those flashing LED signboards with the speed limit signs, and are moving them around the city and putting them out where there are seemingly more issues than others. The best thing about those signs is they collect data. So if they get if they get a report from a certain neighborhood that we have problem with people speeding on the street, like, I don't know, Canal Street, and they can put that sign out and they can really get that data, and they can look at it back then, say, okay, it's been out for a week and 80% of the cars go this fast, 10% go this fast, and 10% go this fast.
So that sign that shows me my speed and then starts flashing if I'm too far above the speed limit, that's recording data as well?
It doesn't record any license plates or anything like that. Nobody's going to get a ticket because of these signs. But what it does do is it allows the police department to be more strategic about where they do the enforcement. And it also can let you track stuff over time, right? If you put it out on Andover Street now, you get a set of data and you do some enforcement and you put the sign back out 3, 4, 6 months from now, it gives you an idea. Did that enforcement make a difference? Are we going in the right direction? So I think that's an exciting development, and it's something that we haven't had before. So
besides yours truly, was there a happier person on the planet than you the moment the Central Street Bridge reopened to two-way traffic?
I think that, if we had thrown a grand opening party, which maybe we should do when the bridge fully opens, it would have attracted a lot of folks. So.
How many of the phone calls that you dealt with or emails from constituents involved that bridge and overall traffic?
It's a good chunk, and honestly, even the Central Street Bridge, just because we're touching on it now, the emails really haven't slowed down that much, because as soon as they open two-way traffic, now it became a question of, well, why can't I turn left onto Market Street when I'm coming up Central Street? Which, that was a weird one to me, and I've had a couple of discussions with the manager and with the traffic engineer about that.
You can't?
If you're driving north on Central Street, look to your right. There's 2 big no left turn signs now that weren't there.
I violated that. I did not realize you can't take that left.
I had made that left turn 3 to 5 times before someone brought it to my attention, because we're all used to it. We've been driving that way for years. And it was confusing because one of those signs was right next to the sign that tells you to turn left to get to the Roy Garage. So I made a motion about that, and I know that the traffic engineer went out, looked at it, and they ended up kind of blocking off that Roy Garage sign, so it's less confusing. But people are still making that left all the time, and I understand the reasoning for restricting that left turn.
Sure.
Because you only have that 1 lane instead of 2, and traffic can back up, yada yada yada. But I think it creates an unsafe situation and just a level of confused expectations, because if people are coming south on Central Street towards the bridge and know that people shouldn't be turning left, and then someone turns left, I feel like it increases the potential for an accident there. But at the same time, I understand for traffic flow reasons why they wanted to restrict that turn. So that will go away once the bridge is done and it is 2 lanes again in that direction. But until then, it's a challenge, and I think we're going to have some more discussions about it.
I learned something this morning, and I have a hunch those watching this podcast might have learned something as well. We are chatting with Lowell City Councilor Wayne Jenness here on this. It's Wednesday morning today, March 9th.
No, it's not. It's Thursday.
Oh, you're right. Thursday morning, March 9th. I lost track. I'm used to my Wednesday council chats. It's Thursday morning, March 9th, when we're recording this, but you are watching it on your own schedule, and we appreciate you joining us here. InsideLowell.com is the website where you can catch all of our content, whether columns, stories, special guest contributions, podcasts, you name it. We've got it on there. If Lowell is your home, this is your place, as we like to say. I want to thank our sponsors for helping make Inside Lowell possible. Washington Savings Bank right there. There's the mug. There's the logo. Still got some time, folks. Lowell and Drake at residents. Take advantage of their special offer. If you open up a new account and get $1,000 directly deposited into that account within 30 days, qualified direct deposits, payroll checks, social security checks, there are a few other categories. If you get $1,000 in there within 30 days, they give you $300. That's a 30% return on your money. You can't get that in the stock market on its best days sometimes. Take advantage of it now. Take advantage of all their personalized service, whether for personal business, personal banking, or business banking, commercial banking. WashingtonSavings.com. Learn all about them. You will not be sorry. Thank you as well to our friends at Hafner's. Your car a little dirty this time of year? We had some snow, some ice, all the sand, the dirt, the salt, the treatment out there takes a toll on your car's looks, but also on your car's body. Wash it off. Sign up for one of those Hafner's car wash plans. Tremendous value. They've got one that'll tailor it specifically for your vehicle's needs, and you're going to save yourself a ton of money in the long run, including money on the investment of your automobile, your vehicle. Hafners.com to learn more, or you can also call 866 It Kicks and Last. But certainly not least, thanks to our friends at Reverie 73. You see their logo behind me. I always point to the kicking donkey Hafner sign, but there's that Reverie 73 logo as well. You might ask, what is Reverie 73? It's a cannabis dispensary right here in Lowell, 1148 Bridge Street. They're opening two more, one in Beverly, one in Gloucester. So they are expanding their business tremendously. Their mission statement: to listen, explain, inspire, and delight. So whether you're a newcomer to the world of cannabis or a canna connoisseur, Reverie 73 is sure to elevate your experience. Again, visit them here in Lowell, 1148 Bridge Street, or order online at reverie73.com. We turn again to Lowell City Councilor Wayne Jenness. Tuesday nights, I almost said last night, again, there I go. Council meeting, there was a presentation on the ARPA money and how it's being distributed in terms of parks. And back when Manager Donahue made the initial presentation on that, there was a lot of pushback around the large chunk of money going towards Fort Hill Park and I believe Shed Park I'm sorry, Shed Park and Collie.
Stadium.
Yeah. Councilor Robinson and a few others said, no, we should spread it out across all of the districts. It looks like they came up with a plan that, from what I understand, most of the councils are ecstatic with. Are you happy with the plan?
I am happy with it. I think that there are a lot of great things in this plan, and it's going to be something where this big pot of money, pretty much every resident in the city will be able to reach out and touch something, right? There will be a concrete, visible improvement in your neighborhood courtesy of this money. Based on this plan. And I think that's really exciting. And I think that's really speaks to a win from neighborhood representation. I think that this plan, as more people learn about it, more people are going to be excited about it. I'm looking forward to continued discussions on it and seeing this stuff come to be.
So there's going to be one in your district, downtown, in the Hamilton Canal district?
Well, it's kind of Jambra, I guess you'd say, because it's between Jackson and Middlesex streets. There's a city-owned parcel right now that's been used for storage for the past few years. If you look over the fence, you'll see a bunch of granite curbing that was taken out of the old Lord Overpass, and it's been just kind of a place to keep stuff. And this came up in discussions with DPD that I had with them, saying, hey, we got to do something better with this space. It can't just be a storage space in the middle of a densely populated downtown. So what they're looking at doing is to turn this area into a park, and kind of an innovative park. There's going to be, the plan anyway, is to have these poured rubber forms that really give kids place to climb and do stuff on. It's not your traditional playground equipment, but it's more interesting than just just some grass and a path. So I think it's going to be fun. I think people are going to like it. There's going to be some benches in there, some trees and shade. There's going to be some open space where you can go and sit and catch some fresh air in the middle of the city. And it's something that we kind of lack. And it doesn't address one of the biggest demands for open space in the city or in the downtown that I've heard a lot of, which is just a playground for kids. It's something we really don't have. You have to leave the downtown in order to really access a playground. I'm sure you see it all the time across the street from the Athenian. The Mac Plaza trolley is the closest thing you get to a playground in downtown. And the kids are all over and they love it, but the kids downtown deserve more than that. So I've had some pretty in-depth discussions with DPD on where we can go and how we can make that happen. So that's going to be something we're going to work on. And it's not going to come from ARPA money, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do something.
Why not some of that playground equipment in that parcel that you were discussing? Is it just not big enough?
Yeah, it's just size. If you look at the parcel, actually, for anyone curious where this parcel is, if you look at Jackson Street, you have the early garage, and then to the left of the garage, if you're standing on Jackson Street and looking at the early garage, to your left, there is a chunk of land and then a parking lot for the Jackson Street lofts. It's that area in between the entrance to the garage and that parking lot. The part closest to the garage is actually owned by National Grid, and they have some equipment there. So it's about half that land that we're talking about. So it's not a ton of space, which is why the DPD came to the decision that this would be the best use for it, because it just isn't enough to have playground equipment and other stuff. So
let's switch gears for a second.
Sure.
Talk a little bit about the homelessness issue, which dominated the discussion on the council floor for what seemed like 2 months. Haven't heard as much lately on that. It's everywhere in the city, and we know some of the pop-up tent cities, but where the issue is most visible is in your downtown district that you represent. What do you make of the kind of the discussions, the way it's currently being handled, but also the discussions by the manager and others on the council to try to create these different locations, each with a specialized type service to try to get people into some level of housing, but also housing that offers services that many of these people need, whether it's mental health, addiction, a combination of both, or
absolutely
whatnot. Seems like a great idea. Is it?
Yeah,
is it feasible?
I think so, and I think it's the way to go. And I think it's very clear to anyone around the city that we don't have enough beds. Right? We've got the shelter, and they do what they can, but there just aren't enough beds, and they aren't the right beds either. The shelter works for some, absolutely. And, I know that people have come through the shelter program and then gotten on their own 2 feet again and moved on and are living their best life now. But I feel like there's too many people who that model isn't right for what they need. And I think that having more smaller specialized shelters with those wraparound services are really what's needed. The city adopted a housing first model in 2019, and then of course the pandemic and everything blew up. But I still believe that housing first is the right answer and is crucial to making inroads in this situation. But it can't be housing only. You can't just give someone housing and say, there you go, you're all set, and walk away. We know that doesn't work. Those services are crucial. And the city can't provide all those services. The city needs to work with partners, whether they're nonprofits, whether they're healthcare organizations, whoever they are, to help meet the needs of this population. And it's going to be different for each set of person. There's no one cause of homelessness. There's no one cure to homelessness. So I think that having a specialized, targeted approach is the way to go. And I think that as long as we can get this moving, I think we'll see some wins here. Is
there anything to mind, any ideas that you have to deal with the number? I think it's probably a small number, 2, maybe 3 dozen, who just they either don't want to conform to whatever some of the rules are. Because, it's nice to open these facilities, offer the mental health services or the addiction services, but when somebody's violating those, now if you don't kick them out, you're now putting everybody else in there at risk who's, willing to get the help or serious about recovery. So I'm going to guess those numbers, maybe 2-3 dozen. Is that a fair assessment in your mind?
I almost feel like it's lower than that.
That would be good.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about some of the faces we see downtown, right? Like you're walking around downtown all the time. I'm walking around downtown all the time. There's probably 8 or 10 folks that when someone is talking about the homeless or the unhoused causing issues downtown, it's almost always those 8 or 10 people. As to what you do there, that's a really tough question. It's a tough nut to crack. Obviously, they're still human beings. They have rights. How do we work with them to help them make better decisions? And I think that's a question that I just don't have the power to answer. And I think that there's a lot of different levels of stuff going on here, and everybody needs some kind of individualized attention, and some people need more than others. And I think that really we need a lot. These folks need a lot of help.
And I agree with you. I'm glad you said that. Even if they're breaking all the rules, and you can't put them in a house with somebody in recovery, because they're a danger in many ways, but they're still human beings. So to me, this is the failure of the state and the federal government. There's got to be something set up where some type of, we went down the path of involuntary commitment and NASA, but there's got to be some level where somebody can get deemed a danger to society, danger to themselves. And at least if at least you can get them into some kind of long-term, it is confinement, but something that would say, okay, we're going to make sure you're taking your meds every day. We're going to offer you some type of counseling or some type of addiction. Well, you're not going to save them all, but maybe a couple of, and it's a chronic problem, right? The same
Absolutely.
faces we're seeing downtown today that you just referred to, I saw them back in 2007 when I started working at, CAP up in that area there. So we all know who they are. There's got to be something better we can do. And then, quite frankly, some of them might just appreciate something better that doesn't involve what the alternatives are now.
Yeah, and I know that many of the organizations downtown, whether they're nonprofits, whether they're arms of the city or even the state, have tried to help a lot of these folks and have done a lot with them. Some of them have even been, given housing and have ended up back on the street. So it's clear that the approaches we've taken in the past haven't been sufficient for these folks. But I totally agree with you that I'm really looking to the state and the federal government for help here. The state of Massachusetts, I got to say, does a fantastic job with family homelessness across the Commonwealth. Families are placed, it may not be where they want to be, but families will get housed in Massachusetts. There's obviously barriers and challenges there, but the state does a great job with that. It's the individual homelessness that really is a struggle for the state, and then in turn for the cities. Lowell isn't alone in this at all. As to what the best solution is, that I don't know, other than I will say that they need some more help and more intensive help. So how we can figure out how to make that happen is something that our friends in the state legislature really need to lead on, and the city needs to take their guidance and figure out how to make it work.
The council as a whole has caught some criticism, the administration has, for how they've dealt with the homeless issue. Again, that kind of blew up a couple of months ago. We actually put a poll question out there. Has the city done, enough, more than enough, or not enough or paid, attention to the issue of homelessness? In your mind, how would you kind of rate the council and the administration as a whole on their attention to this issue and their efforts on the issue?
Sure. So I will say that the 11 of us as a council have had a pretty heightened focus on this issue. It's something that has come up in many motions, many discussions, and many many campaign speeches, to be honest. We've all talked about it. And we all know it's an issue that we need to deal with. And so we've all brought these issues forward to the administration. I think the administration has done a good job. I think Lisa Golden and her team have really started to really try to make an effort here, and are doing what they can, but we can always do better, is my feeling. There's always a way to do things better. And I'm looking for continual improvement in that area. And it's something that will never solve homelessness. There's always going to be folks who are unhoused on the streets of Lowell. I don't care if it's 2023 or 2423. I would bet there will be unhoused folks on the streets. It's just unfortunately a fact of life. But we can make a better effort than we're doing. We can do more. And although there will always be folks who are unhoused and are living on the streets, if we can have an impact on individuals and getting them into housing, we've made a difference for that person and for the community. And I think that that's really what we should focus on. I don't think anyone should say, well, there's always going to be homelessness and just throw up their hands and walk away, because that's not the answer.
All right, before we get to the last topic I have in my notes here, a lighthearted moment here. My city council recap guy, the Lowell citizen, Ryan Gilday, has started noticing what seems to be a water bottle war going on between you and Councilor Gitschier over who has the largest water bottle on the desk. I noticed you brought your small travel mug.
Yeah, this is insulated, so it has my tea in it. So.
But on Tuesday nights, and when that camera pops on the two of you on the Lowell Telecommunications, I mean, if those water bottles get any bigger, you're going to get hidden behind it, and so is Councilor Gitschier. Yeah, you guys got a little friendly thing going on here. What's going on?
Yeah. So I'll first say, I'm significantly taller than Councilor Gitschier, so I think I'll be able to see over the water bottle. Even if it gets a little bigger, he might have some problems. But so that started, I think, because we both showed up pretty early in the term and both took our water bottles out and set them down. I had one that Carrie had given me for a Christmas gift or something, and I sat out there, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's my UMass one. And I looked over, and he's got his UMass Lowell one, and then he got a bigger UMass Lowell one. And then, so Carrie, she watches the meetings from home on Tuesdays. She saw this, and so she bought me a bigger UMass bottle for Christmas. So that's when that one came out. So it's kind of balls in his court, and we'll see what he does next.
Carrie being your wife, the former first assistant city solicitor, who my information was could have been the city solicitor and opted not to. Were you rooting for her to like take that job or to go away? That would have been an interesting situation. You sitting there asking your wife for legal advice publicly.
Sure, that was her decision, and I was going to support her with whatever she decided to do. That's her career, and I tried not to push her in one direction or the other. And I said, this is your opportunity. This is your decision. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you make that decision. But I was not pushing her in one direction or the other.
Were you? Did you have inner feelings about what you wanted to see?
I think we all do. But, I'm sure that you've had feelings and everything else with your wife making a career decision or something like that.
As long as she's making more money, I'm happy with whatever job she takes. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about communications, because the last couple of weeks and during Winterfest, we did a podcast featuring a woman named Diandra Silk. And now I've been working with her behind the scenes. Anytime there's information to get out, public information, press releases, she's in contact with me. She is in essence, I don't know the official title given to her, but she is in essence the communications strategist or media relations person for the city of Lowell. Turns out that came about because of a suggestion or motion that you had. Why is that so important? I believe it is, but there are people that say, does the city really need somebody to make that much money to do PR work?
Sure. So I think that take a step back. When I was campaigning, one of the things I heard from residents, from business owners, from visitors to the city is just that the city needed to do a better job communicating with stakeholders, communicating with everybody who lived in the city, worked in the city, who's trying to run a business in the city, because they just felt like they weren't getting the information or didn't know how to get the information, didn't know who to reach out to, couldn't find the information on the website, whatever it is. And so this theme of communications really kept coming up during the campaign. And so once the term started, I asked then Manager Donahue to consider creating a communications department as we looked at the next budget. And then obviously there was plenty of upheaval and bumps along the way. But when we got down the road and once Manager Golden was in place, I kind of asked the question again of, what are we doing around communications? How can we do it better? And we had discussions about what that would look like, and this position was created. There have been other discussions that have happened on the floor recently, talking about what the city can do better communication-wise. And I think it's really bi-directional. It's the city pushing out information to folks, and it's also the city being able to receive information from folks so they can process it. Ms. Silk came on board, and I think she's hit the ground running, and she's doing a great job. But that is going to be the beginning of something bigger. I feel like this whole communication strategy is going to grow, and it has to grow. We have to do a better job of communicating with our residents who don't speak English. We have to do a better job of making it easier for folks to find information. We have to do a better job of promoting the city. We have to do a better job of just being reachable. And I think that that this is kind of the first step along that path, and I'm excited to see where we go with it.
All right. City Councilor Wayne Jenness, thank you so much for joining us here on the Inside View, your first podcast with us. Probably won't be the last.
No, well, I'm just a few steps away, so thanks for having me in, and looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank all of you for joining us this morning as well here. And again, you may not be watching it this morning, could be watching it tomorrow morning or later in the day at evening. Again, if you're an insomniac, you might be watching it overnight. But here at Inside Lowell, we give you news, information, and entertainment, sometimes entertainment, on your schedule, not ours. And as we always like to say, if Lowell is your home, Inside Lowell is your place. Thank you for joining us. Till next time, stay safe, everybody.